In this video, we will learn how to use Copilot in our Visual Studio Code. This is my GitHub account, and if you go to settings and code planning and automation section, there will be a setting for Copilot where you will see all the models that's available, your current plan, and all other settings. So for now, we will leave as it is. I'll enable this Claude Sonnet. You can do that, or you can just use the ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever is available. So let's go back to our account. This is my GitHub account, and on the top right hand you will see this icon. If you click on it, it will open a session of ChatGPT, as a chat option, so you can query any of your repositories from here. And if I ask what does this repository do, because I do not have any readme files in this, it will not be able to tell me exactly what that repository is about. I've added a readme file, and now if I query the same thing, it's able to tell me what that repository does. Let's jump back to Visual Studio Code, and if you are using an older version, you will need to update your Visual Studio Code. If you go to help and check for updates, you should get this one. So you should have your Visual Studio Code updated before you can access the ChatGPT or the Copilot option. So these are the options available. I would select use all features with Copilot free. This is the options. This is the window that will open on the right hand side. And all you need to do is, if you do not have the account linked already, it will give you the option to sign up or sign in. Because my repository is already linked with my GitHub account, it just gave me the option to start using it. And yeah, so I did that, and right now my Copilot is ready to be used. I can ask any of the questions that I want, and it will be able to tell me. These are the limitations of GitHub Copilot. So currently you have 2000 code completions and 50 chat messages per month. That's the limitation of your free account. If you want more out of it, you can always go and purchase a license or subscription. So let's start using this. If you see, you can ask the GPT 4.0 to write you some code. I just asked it to add something to this current repository, and it generated me some code. Again, you need to be very careful with the code it generates, because it will, as you know, AI is susceptible to hallucinations, and as you can see, this the code that it generated was for something else, and that's not what I wanted. I asked it to write me a small HTML piece for adding a new certification to my website. That was for DP600, which is Fabric Analytics Engineer, but for some reason it kept giving me for Cosmos DB Engineer, and that was not right, so I had to correct it. So I literally had to provide it the URL of Microsoft's DP600 certification page, and once I did that, it was able to rectify the code. But yes, so you need to be very careful with what the code that Copilot generates, and to use that, because it might not be correct. So yeah, that's that. It's kind of a quality assurance that you need to do. But let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. This is the URL. Let me just copy it. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code and just paste that URL. So it has realized that it made a mistake. It is writing me the code again, and if I scroll down, I should be able to see the updated code, and it seems like it has corrected the issue, and right now it is pointing to the correct DP600 certification. Let's go back to our GitHub account because I have just committed the code. It should already start building and deploying our updated code. If you want to see your changes, the changes are available in your files, and I'll go back to my GitHub Actions. Let me go back to my GitHub Actions, and from there we can see our current running deployments. Deployment was successful, so let me go back, and if you see in the deploy task or the activity, you can see the URL, and it has deployed successfully. My website should be updated with Fabric Analytics Engineer. So it was updated, but the icon was broken, so I've updated that, and I'll link the certification to the correct icon. But anyways, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code, and these are the options that you get. So you can ask your workspace anything about the entire code repository. So if you click on this @ you can see the options available. For example, if you do the workspace, and you can ask questions about the workspace, you can ask questions about the GitHub. So it's basically you're chatting with at a particular context you want to ask questions. So for example, if you click on this one, it will tell me more details, or it will explain you that workspace. You can select the code, and you can ask questions regarding that as well. As you can see, it is trying to explain you what that particular piece of code or whatever we was selected means. You can also do just @ workspace and then ask questions. For example, I would like to know more about this workspace, and I would like to ask this question, and Copilot will explain me exactly what the files are, what's it doing, the images and everything. So it's a very good point to start if you're added to a new project and you want to just know more about the repository. You can just ask Copilot, and you will get all the answers instead of jumping onto the senior dev and asking lots of questions. If you do help, you will see all the current options available in your chat option. So this is how you use the messaging or the chat option available in your Visual Studio Code with the Copilot. The other thing, the limitation is the 2000 code completion, and that code completion bit we will test out as well. This is like 50 chat messages that you can do with free tier. It's like a couple of messages that I sent. Let's check out the code completion bit. So if you start writing a piece of code, it will start use the intelligence and give you the code. It will try to complete the code, and if there is some errors, you can always correct. But if you can see, if I go here and I just wait a bit, it will try to write the code for me, and you can see it has done exactly, and I'll just accept this. But just see how smart that is. It has gone and just copied the way I have written the code earlier. It has just copied the same style and use the same methods, same the way I am naming my files, and the way I'm naming my icons. It has done the same. So let me just copy this particular icon and drop it in my icon location, just so we can test that the code exactly works. That is fine. Let me save this. I should be able to commit and deploy this piece of code. Let's go back. You can even ask chat the messenger to commit the code, but I will not do that because I have limited messages available. So I'll just commit it from here. Click yes, sync changes. And if we go back, it should start deploying. We have our CI/CD enabled, so the build and deploy would already begin. Let me go back a bit. Actions, and it's currently building. Once done, it should, we should have our code deployed. And as you can see, the Azure Data Scientist is a piece of code that came from Copilot. So this is how you use Copilot in Visual Studio Code. Let me know if you have any doubts or any issues, and we can solve that together. Thanks for watching and keep supporting.